what do you do about it? I want to give you guys some tools to help make the shift and get the pendulum swung just a little bit back this way. So step number 3 is about redistributing the power appropriately. And you'll see I have a water gun metaphor here that I like to use. And if we really had fun tonight, I would whip out a water gun now and start spraying the crowd, but I promise I don't have that. So for the water gun metaphor, imagine when your child is born, you're presented with a water gun that's all the way filled up with water. And your little tiny adorable bundle of baby is also given a water gun of equal size, also filled up with water. So as you go through life, we'll say at age 2, your toddler is in the cart, the grocery cart, and you're checking out at a grocery store, and the toddler starts crying and pointing and begging for candy in the grocery store line or in the checkout line. So you say, okay, fine, and you hand it to her to make her be quiet and to get people to stop staring at you like you're an evil parent. And guess what happens to your water gun? A little bit of water leaks out. And then fast forward again, let's say you've got a 4-year-old and he's on the floor refusing to put on his shoes for preschool. You've asked him to, you've begged him to, you've told him you're gonna be late. He's still sitting on the floor playing with his cars, refusing to put on his shoes. So you say, all right, we've gotta go. And you put on his shoes for him and you walk out of the door. So guess what's happened to your water gun? You've had more water dribble out. I'll do one more. So now fast forward, we've got a 9-year-old. He's playing Minecraft. I think that's still trendy enough. I can use that example. He's playing Minecraft and you say, all right, time's up, buddy. You gotta turn off the video game and wash up for dinner. And he says, no, I'm almost to the save point or whatever they would say in Minecraft. I'm almost gonna fight the dragon and whatever. So you say, no, come on, you've had enough video games. And he's like, no, seriously, just 5 more minutes, please. And you say, all right, fine, we're gonna start dinner without you. And you go off and leave and you let him have 5 more minutes until he comes in. So more water leaks out of your water gun. So now, what happens when you are face to face with your 16-year-old and they're going out for the night and you say, hey, you can't go to people's houses if there's no parents there. And absolutely no messing with alcohol, and you have to be home at 11. But what happens if you are face to face and your water gun is drained? It's empty at that point. You've used it all up. And theirs is perfectly full, ready to go. This is a metaphor, but metaphorically, they're gonna look at you and think, I don't have to do what you say. I know you're not really serious about these rules or about me listening to you. So the point of this metaphor is we want to have the small battles, so to speak, when our kids are younger and when the consequences are lower. We want them to already have the experience of you meaning what you say and having them know that if they break the rules or don't do what they're supposed to, that there are consequences and discipline. So when it comes down to the big issues, they'll have that respect for you and they'll know that you are well equipped to discipline or see through the situation. So are you all with me for that, the water gun metaphor? Okay, so are you assessing how much water you have left in your tanks? Okay, so now some examples here. Oh, I should have had that image up the whole time, huh? Okay, so I love acronyms and metaphors. You've already figured that out. This one is so simple, but I promise you it can be life-changing for your parenting. This simple acronym, when I teach it to parents, it's CWC, Command, Warning, Consequence. So what that means is a lot of parents get sucked into arguing with their kids. And I would say, living in Wick County, in Cary, we've got a lot of smart parents with smart kids. I think Davis Drive Middle has like a population of 98% gifted kids. That's probably an exaggeration, but a lot of bright kids who are very verbally adept at taking us on and arguing and making their point for why they shouldn't have to do this or that. So the CWC basically nips that in the bud. So instead of telling your child, okay, you need to get your stuff ready for school, and they're still playing with the cat, and then you ask them again, and they're still playing with the cat, and then you give a week warning, and you say, hey, do you want to get in trouble? I said, get your book bag ready. And they're still laughing and goofing off with the cat. Instead of having that cycle go on, the CWC means you would give the command, okay, time to stop playing with the cat and get your book bag ready. And then if little Susie hops up and gets her book bag packed up, then great, problem solved. She's done what you asked. But if she keeps messing around with the cat and playing with the cat, then you would immediately go to the W, to the warning, and you would say, hey Susie, I said to stop playing with the cat and get your book bag, or you're gonna lose your electronics after school today. So at that point, if she gets up and gets her book bag packed, also problem solved, no issue, life is good. If she doesn't, if she's still messing around with the cat and doing the slow motion walking towards the book bag that they do, then you move to the final C and you give the consequence and you say, okay, Susie, I warned you, if you didn't get up right now and pack your backpack, then you're losing electronics after school. So sorry to tell you, but no electronics today after school. So this doesn't work in every single situation. Sometimes, of course, as parents, we're dealing with things other than commands. But even with middle schoolers, you'd be surprised at how many commands we're still giving our kids. So this formula, if you hold to it, will amazingly take a lot of stress and arguing and going around and around with your kids out of the equation if you just follow the simple steps of just one time issuing the command, one warning, and then the consequence. So another thing that I love to preach on is follow through. Sometimes as parents, especially if we're upset, we'll give a warning about some consequence we're going to give, but it's ridiculous and there's no possible way we can actually follow through with it. Or we realize that it's going to punish the whole family, and then we think, oh gosh, I really wish I hadn't said that, because if you don't go to the movie this weekend, none of us are going, and then you change your mind and come up with something else. So it's really important when you throw out there a consequence that you see it through, even if you realize it's going to mess up your own fun or if it's going to be hard to enforce. I had a client of mine who I told her she's going to be in my No Wimpy Parenting talk, but that I would make it totally anonymous. But she did a great job with this. She had, I've been seeing her son for a while. He has ADHD and a little bit of oppositional defiant thrown in there. So he's a handful at times. And this mom gave him the warning that if he continued to get into trouble at school, and if he continued to have this attitude at home with his parents, that they were going to take his brand new basketball shoes they got him and give them away. And I wish I knew more about boys' shoes, but I'll tell you, I saw the picture, they were very cool, fancy basketball shoes. So just use your imagination if you have boys for what I'm talking about. So this boy did not get his act together. He kept getting in trouble at school that week, and he kept coming home with an attitude. So guess what the mom did? She drove him to one of those Goodwill boxes in the parking lot that are just there. She drove him there with his beloved, awesome shoes in his lap, and he had to deposit them into the Goodwill box forevermore. And imagine for a minute how exciting that is for whatever child got those. But for him, what an amazing moment. He will remember that likely for the rest of his life. He's 10, so he'll probably remember when his mom actually meant what she said, drove him to give away the basketball shoes. So it's a powerful example but it does make the point that moments like that where you're following through, kids will remember, and that next time, hopefully they'll think twice and not want to test you and see, are you really going to do that? So I'll give you one more example from the archives of the Wins family. I'll keep it anonymous since Mr. Gaudet already let the cat out of the bag that I have a middle schooler here. So I'll just say one of my kids, so y'all don't know which one it is. So we had a similar issue where kind of regretting the consequence that you give. This was a few years back. One of our kids had major attitude issue for the week. We were just getting a lot of pushback and back talk, so we gave the warning that if it continued, she was going to lose sweets for the next day. That's one of our more favorite punishments, to take away sweets for the day, because our children adore dessert and candy and the like. So we gave that warning. She continued with the attitude and the arguing and the pushback, so we said, okay, sorry, you lose sweets for the next day. But guess what the next day was? The state fair. The wonderful state fair. And I don't know if y'all get excited about it like I do, but the food is what I'm most excited about. And this year I tried the Twinks, which was the Twix, inserted in a Twinkie with bacon wrapped around it and then deep fried. So then I get excited about sweets, and I get excited for my kids to have sweets. So that was sweet torture for the child the next day, and for me. We held to it. It was one of those where the whole day I would see her looking at her sister, happily licking cotton candy and candy apples, and I would feel a little pang, but we held to it. Probably every year since at the state fair, she remembers that. And again, it's about following through, meaning what you say, and having your kids know that, and that greatly reducing them sort of rolling the dice and gambling that this time you're not going to follow through. I say this about kids all the time, but it's really true. They're natural gamblers, and if they can roll that dice and know 50% of the time, 40%, 60%, you're going to forget the punishment, or you're going to get tired of it and just give up on it, or you'll let them talk you out of it, then they're going to roll the dice every time. But if you make the odds so high that they think, oh gosh, chances are good Mom and Dad are actually meaning this, then they're going to have a lot more respect for what you're saying.